I think that there's one player that can really change Georgia's offense if he develops and if he develops to what we thought his potential could be or what it is. And I think that we saw a little bit of that on Saturday, and it really, really could change the offense. And I'm going to talk about some other things that I saw outside of Arian Smith. But Arian Smith, man, is one of the players that I came away most impressed with in Georgia's win over Clemson. Didn't have a touchdown, didn't have some 100-yard game, wasn't returning the way he has in the past. But man, I saw improvement from Arian Smith. And it was a question every single offseason, right? And it was, I always kind of I started to roll my eyes after a while at people when they're like, oh, it's Arian Smith this time, Arian Smith this time. 21, 22, 23, and now 24. Every offseason, every fall camp, every spring ball, everyone talks about how good Arian Smith is. And he plays well in practice, and he does well. And you hear good things about how, man, well, Arian Smith, and I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen Carson Beck and Arian Smith and the duo that they have been for years, even when they were reserves, when Stetson was out there as the quarterback. And I thought against Clemson that he was an approved wide receiver. Route running hands, after the catch ability. It looked a little bit different. It looked like he's put in some real work. Kirby has talked about how he's put in some real work. I will do my best to find that quote here about Arian Smith while we are chatting about it, because he talked about how he puts in that work and that it hasn't just stopped. Arian Smith's dealt with injuries. Arian Smith's dealt with, quitting one sport and focusing on football. And he's dealt with some hate from Georgia fans, right? And it's because he's struggled. And he's only caught a few balls each year, right? He got 5 passes against Clemson. 5 passes against Clemson. He's never had more than 3 catches, right? His career high in catches in a game was 3. It was in that Ohio State game where he caught that huge touchdown. And he caught a lot of huge touchdowns, right? A handful at least. It's like he was due for a couple a year of those big deep balls. But if he can become more than just that and also have that in the bag, yeah, it unlocks a part of Georgia's offense that they didn't have, an absolute speedster that they can just get the ball to in different ways than just throwing it downfield. I do think that this could be a really big thing for the Georgia Bulldogs if his development looks like what it looked like on Saturday. Ryan Curley from Dawg Post talking about Arian Smith and kind of in broad Georgia's wide receiver room and how I think that this is really improved from what I saw, right? It's easy to have overreactions about week 1. It's easy to have overreactions about the first month of college football, right? People overreacted about Alabama last year in that first month, right? They are struggling throughout the first month, and then they end up winning the SEC championship and going to the college football playoff and almost going to the national championship. They were very close to going to the national championship over the Michigan Wolverines, right? That was a tough game. So you can't have overreactions. And maybe it'll turn out to be an overreaction, but I do think that Arian Smith looks like a better wide receiver than he was, which I think makes Georgia's offense better. Something I am not overreacting about is how great our newsletter is, and I want you to check it out. I've got it linked in the description of this video down below. Make sure to check it out. It's not an overreaction to say, whoa, Dawg Post gives us a lot of content. Man, it's not just on the YouTube. It's on the website as well, dawgpost.com as well if you want to check it out. But it's free to be a member on our mailing list, and it's a great way to stay up to date with what's going on with Georgia football. Arian Smith ends up getting 5 catches for 52 yards on Saturday. Let me confirm that that's right. Yes, 5 catches, 56 yards. 5 catches, 56 yards. Comeback routes. Crossers. He was doing more than he usually does. What have we seen out of Arian Smith outside of the deep balls, right? All it is really screens and deep balls. And you've seen Carson Beck, you've seen Stetson Bennett struggle to connect with him. It's just been the truth, right? Whether it was a misconnection on the quarterback's fault or a misconnection because he dropped it, they've struggled with that. You would think that they would connect on more deep balls than they would, but he's good for a few touchdowns, like 3 or 4 maybe touchdowns a year on those catches. But if he can be a guy that catches 3, 4, 5 balls a game, and he's got the afterburner ability, it adds an element that the other wide receivers just don't have, right? It'd be closer to Mecole Hardman and what they were able to do. And I think that helped unlock things in Georgia's offense, which was not as advanced back in the day when they had Mecole Hardman. Now, Arian Smith sits in an offense that has Dylan Bell, just an absolutely versatile wide receiver that's playing on the outside, can play running back, can play in the slot. Dominic Lovett, a very shifty slot player that they love to get out and open screens and crossers and a lot of different routes. They got a 6'5" guy in Colby Young who already proved, and I told you guys he was going to be a big red zone target for Georgia, and they proved that in week 1 as they throw that fade route into the end zone and he gets a touchdown. They got London Humphreys, another speedster, a bigger speedster, a guy that can grab it across the middle and really take off. They've got guys behind them, right? Tight ends, running backs, versatile in both of those positions. And they've got Arian Smith, a guy who can burn you with his speed more so than anybody else that we talked about. So it adds another wrinkle to Georgia's offense. What did we see on Saturday? We saw Smith. We saw London Humphreys come in for him and score and make 2 big catches. We saw transfers come in and play. We saw Dylan Bell get the ball in a variety of ways. We saw Oscar Delp not get the ball at all. And neither did Benjamin Urasek. Trevor Etienne wasn't out there. So one of the things that I think was proven against Clemson was, hey, they're deep at wide receiver. They've got guys all over the place. I mean, that was one of my biggest takeaways. I finally found the quote about Arian Smith from Kirby Smart. I want you guys to hear what he had to say about the speedster. This is now in quotes. Yeah, we want to depend on everybody because you don't want to be a one-dimensional team. So the idea ever since we've been here is spread the ball around. We've had a lot of guys with a lot of touches, nobody with a ton individually. And Arian's been a great case study in that because he's touched the ball vertically. He's touched the ball sideways. He's become a more complete receiver and route runner. I thought he made some plays out on besides the rocket sweep things and edge runs. He made some plays catching the ball outside, and that's big for him. That's growth for him. We need more guys to step up and be able to do that, and we've got to be innovative in ways to get touches that make us hard to defend. So he pretty much echoed what we've been saying about, or just the truth about Arian Smith, which is they've gotten the ball to him sideways and they've gotten the ball to him vertically, but that's been about it. If he's improved, then you can run those other routes. You can run comeback routes. You can run crossing routes. Maybe you can run some digs and some drags. If his footwork has improved, his hands have improved, then he can become an actual wide receiver and just instead of just a gadget player that he has been for the most part for Georgia. And the beauty in that, I would say, is you don't have to ask him to do that much on a weekly basis because they've got London Humphreys, right? Kirby, this is what he talked about with Humphreys, basically being a reserve for Arian. And it's ridiculous because Humphreys would start on most teams. And he didn't start on Saturday. It's great. He does a good job. He's probably more in relief for Arian Smith, and he did a good job. He's got SEC experience. I think that's what, the portal provides. You go and get a guy that's been successful and played well in our conference. He's done that. He's proven himself as a guy that can make plays, and he was ready when his number was called. We talk about it all the time. Your opportunity's coming. Are you going to seize the moment when the moment jumps out in front of you? He did that, talking about London Humphreys. Colby Young seized the moment. Arian Smith seized the moment. I thought Dylan Bell seized the moment. Just all sorts of players. No. This wide receiver room is not Alabama's, who's got a true freshman catching for 2 passes for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. And they have Kendrick Law and Kobe Prentice and other guys. This is not Ohio State's wide receiver room. Emeka Egbuka, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate. It's not that. It's probably not quite as good as Colorado's, who's got Jimmy Horn and Travis Hunter, and you got the top-end talent of a Travis Hunter. Excuse me. But collectively as a group, when you think about how deep Georgia is at running back and tight end, and you look at, well, these guys are really good weapons, and they've got the quarterback in Carson Beck, it just kind of goes on to prove why this offense is being so highly viewed and why we're talking about it so highly all offseason. Like, this is an offense that's going to score. Just put up 34 points against Clemson. Right? They're going to put up 50-plus against Tennessee Tech this week unless something goes unless something goes like the Ball State game last year and they just don't look quite as explosive as you should. But I think this will be a more explosive offense, and Arian Smith's improvement is going to be one of those reasons why. Newsletter below. Thank you for watching.